Welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom podcast. I am James Ham. I am at the beautiful Empire Ranch Golf Course in Folsom, California, with NBA legend, NBA fan favorite, and new Comcast Sportsnet analyst, Bobby Jackson. Bobby, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I got to hide in the shade. It's just too beautiful. I know why you came back to Sacramento, because you can golf all year round.
I can golf all year round, and you can't beat the weather. I think that's the most important part. It's just you can't beat this weather. In Minnesota, you're not golfing in Minnesota right now. It's probably 30 degrees right now. So I'm enjoying California right now.
Yeah, the ground's probably about to be frozen in Minnesota.
They probably are frozen. But it's great to be back and to be in some beautiful weather, but also get to play some golf in October.
That's right. Okay, so let's talk about this new job that you just picked up with Comcast Sportsnet California. You're going to be the in-studio analyst alongside a couple of different people, I assume. How excited are you to take on something like this?
I'm very excited. You know, the guy that I'm working with is Guy Haberman, and he's showing me the ropes. He's been doing radio and TV for a while. So he's kind of showing me the ropes, but the whole Comcast Sports department has been great and welcomed me with welcome arms. And I'm just excited for this new adventure in my life. I'm heading in a new direction, and I'm excited for it.
You tried the coaching thing for a little while. Why is this a better fit for you than coaching?
I mean, I love coaching. You know, at the end of the day, coaching is all about the right person, finding the right coach at the right time. And I've been with 3 coaches, coached for 4 years, and I still want to coach. It's my passion. I just didn't get picked up, and so I had to find something else to do and figure out a new direction where I wanted to go. I always thought I wanted to be radio and broadcast analyst, but it opened up, and something came free, and I had to jump at the opportunity.
Last year, you worked in Minnesota with Rick Adelman. Rick Adelman's last year, it looks like his last year in coaching. How was that, and how is Coach doing?
He's doing good. Personally, I think he got burnt out. He was more concerned about his wife, and I think at the end of the day, he's a family man, and he values his family, and he was there by his wife's side, and she has some health scares and some health problems, and so he's a kind of secret guy, and a lot of people didn't know that, but. It was great to be back with the guys that coached me when I was playing here in the early 2000s. And, he's doing wonderful, and I'm happy. He had a great career at coaching, but also he's a great mentor at teaching the game also.
You've been around this team for a long time. And I mean, even when you were in Minnesota, I'm sure you looked from afar. You spent a couple of years here coaching. The chemistry of this team has been off for quite a while, and your team in the early 2000s with the Kings had some of the greatest chemistry we've ever seen on the basketball court. Are they finding their way as you're watching them now?
I still think they have a lot of improvement to improve on. They're growing. DeMarcus is growing in leaps and bounds, and Rudy is growing also. You got 2 cornerstone guys that can be all-stars in any given year. And, the way DeMarcus is playing, and he's played throughout the preseason, you're looking for a bigger and better year for him. I think his biggest thing is his attitude, how he approaches the game and how he doesn't let the other team take him out of the game. And being able to stay composed, not losing your composure in the heat of a battle. And I think that's something that he has to work on, and it'll be a true testament to see how he, coming off Team USA, how he can transition Team USA into the Sacramento Kings.
That is kind of the question. What can he bring back and sort of help this franchise move forward? Can he bring back a winning edge? Can he bring back a new maturity level? I mean, do you think he can do that?
I think anybody can do anything. I think he wants to be the guy. He has a strong personality. He just got to know how to go about ways of, communicating to his teammates, not showing too much passion. And I love passion for the game. But, sometimes you have to calm it down. And I think that's going to be his biggest challenge. But I think, by far he's the best big man in the game. Offensively and with the reboundings. He can improve on some things, but that's what the league is about. Everybody has to improve on their game, and it's not just going to be on his shoulders. It's going to be on those 12 other guys that suit up that night of the game to help turn this thing around.
Okay, you're taking on a role as an analyst now. What is it that you're seeing from Darren Collison that's different than Isaiah Thomas brought to this team a year ago?
Well, they're totally two different guards, totally two different point guards. Isaiah's a scoring guard. Darren's a little bit more of a defensive guard. He can get you set up in the offense, but he can push the ball also. So they're totally two different prototype point guards. And you can't go wrong with neither one of them. If you're looking for scoring, you go with Isaiah. If you're looking for defense and passing, you may go with Darren. Isaiah has a strong personality where he has to have the ball in his hand. He wants to score. Some coaches like that and some coaches don't. So they're totally two different guards. And, I like both of them.
Okay, you are known as one of the best six men all the way through the decade of the 2000s, and the Kings added a solid guy in Ramon Sessions. They've been looking for a guy like that probably since you left. How does he fit in, and how do you think he can sort of help the young players, especially Stauskas and McLemore, in this season?
With his veteran savvy and his leadership, I think he can help those guys out tremendously. I've heard nothing but great things about Ramon. And hopefully he can bring that leadership and learning how to be a professional. I think that's what it boils down to is, getting your young guys. You have solid veterans that can come in and mentor them, teach them how to get to the gym early, stay late, and just be true professional. And I think Ramon is going to be able to do that and help their play and dictate them and show them the ins and outs about the NBA.
All right, I don't want to keep you all day. I know you got to get back to the back nine here at the golf course, but you are going to be part of a Legend series this year with Sacramento Kings. Tell me a little bit about that, being part of this community and sort of being one of the fan favorites for, the fans still love you. I'm sure walking around town you still have that. But this year they're going to bring in some guys that you probably haven't seen for a while, Jason Williams and I think Vlade and Peja will have his number retired. What is that Legends, sort of the Legends pack that the Kings are packaging as going to be like for you?
It's going to be exciting. You bringing in guys that made a huge impact for this franchise, but also in this community. And you're bringing back Mitch Richmond, Jason Williams, Doug Christie, Scott Pollard, myself. Still working on a couple things. We're trying to get, I think, Mike Bibby out here. But, just to see those guys and come back and just, commemorate and get together and talk about the old times, talk about what are we doing in our futures now, and just, just fellowship. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And, Mitch and Page's jerseys being retired is huge. He's done so much for this team and this franchise and this community. He's really deserving of it. Then Mitch is a basketball Hall of Fame. You can't go wrong with that. And then you bringing in Doug, me, and Scott, guys that, we went out and we busted our butts on the floor, laid it on the line, and that's what the fans loved us for. It's just going out there and leaving everything on the line.
All right, well, that is Bobby Jackson, new analyst for Comcast Sports California. You will see him pregame and postgame shows for the Sacramento Kings this season. Bobby, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the second portion of the Cowbell Kingdom podcast. I am James Ham. Joining me, Mr. Aaron Bruski, and we are actually in a really, really cool Sacramento establishment called The Bon Lair. One of my favorite little spots, and there's a great restaurant right next door, La Trattoria Bohemia, which is incredible. And we're going to record from here because, you know what, we can. We can record from here. Aaron, how are you?
Well, other than the fact that I just choked on my beer, I think I'm doing pretty good.
This is not a beer cast. It's not. All right, so we've got some things to talk about. I mean, it's been kind of a weird week for the Sacramento Kings. They've had some struggles. Their struggles with turnovers continue. They keep losing to teams that they shouldn't lose to, including the San Antonio Spurs, who ran basically like their fourth unit at you and still dismantled you against your starting unit in the fourth quarter. 24 turnovers, I think it was, 9 turnovers in the third quarter alone. 10 turnovers for DeMarcus Cousins, who has 19 turnovers over 2 games, 31 turnovers over 5 games. Aaron, what are your thoughts on turnovers?
Other than that, the San Antonio Spurs fourth unit's pretty damn good. This is be careful what you wish for sometimes, Kings fans. We're all, I think, in agreement, at least in this podcast and the people that I talk with, that DeMarcus Cousins is the man and the man that the Kings should have planned around. But this is what happens when DeMarcus Cousins is the man. He's going to get the ball. He's going to do things that you don't agree with. He's going to get 5 offensive fouls, which it's kind of unfair that an offensive foul counts as a foul and a turnover. It is a turnover, but it kind of compounds, I think, when you hear he had 5 offensive fouls, 10 turnovers. He triple-doubled with turnovers.
He did. He
And I think 12 of 14.
Yeah,
he had unstoppable.
He was unstoppable, except for the fact that I think it is he has 8 offensive foul turnovers in the last 2 games.
Right.
Which is something that he's going to have to learn to live with because, number one, he's not going to get the call. But number 2, he needs to think ahead and he needs to start using his teammates a little more. I do know that there's a lot of talk to San Antonio game while it wasn't televised that there was no one moving. It was literally DeMarcus Cousins waving at people to move, and they wouldn't move. And so what we have is basically Chris Webber.
Right.
This is Chris Webber 3.0.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a guy who's a lone guy in the post looking for other people to do some magical things who aren't doing anything.
Well, and again, this was happening last year, and a lot of folks were clamoring for more ball movement and complaining about the assist totals on this team. But when you have a dominant presence like DeMarcus Cousins, who isn't quite where he needs to be in terms of a passer, he's got some talent.
Yes.
He's not making the right pass every single time out there. His teammates don't know what to expect from him. So that's half of why they're not cutting, and the other half of why they're not cutting is they're just not built to cut. So the assist problems aren't going to go away just because, you have an off-season worth of pass-first campaigning and bring in new players, get rid of old players. This is an offense centered with DeMarcus Cousins. You've got Rudy Gay, who's kind of the same type of player as well. So, and I know Rudy was having some problems with that during the game as well, taking some shots that folks would not like to see him take. So I thought that there was a little bit of a step backwards in that game. And the big question for me heading into the season is if all the talk is going to pan out or if it's going to be the same thing we saw last year.
Well, check this out, Aaron. You're going to love this. I do coach. I help coach soccer. I have kids. Everyone knows that who listens to the podcast. But, in coaching soccer, when the kids mess up, you make them run lines. So today at Sacramento Kings practice, it ran long. And we're like, what's going on? What went on was Michael Malone was done with the turnovers. And his response to all of the turnovers was to make them run lines every time they hit 5 turnovers in practice. And I don't think people were too happy about that, but it's like a pandemic. It's more than an epidemic. It's like, holy cow,
You don't see that in the NBA. It's
28.
coaches making players run liners.
No.
Not maybe in training camp, maybe with the young guys, but not with the full team this late in the season.
Oh, no, he's upset. He's ready for them to stop. And he also knows that, look, they've got one preseason game to tune up, and then they've got Golden State next week. I mean, this is it. You don't get more opportunities. You don't get to keep kind of wandering around and waiting and hoping that it gets better. This is a time to get better, and I don't think the Sacramento Kings are taking it serious and maybe going old school, going back to, where they started as basketball players is the way to do it.
I think when we're looking at this and you hear about Mike Malone making the guys run liners, I think we both know there's a fire lit underneath him as well. There's a lot of pressure for Mike Malone to come out and start fast and start well.
But have you looked at their schedule?
Yeah.
It's ugly.
Yeah. It's very ugly.
I know they have 11 home games in December, but November is brutal. It's brutal, and the Kings are going to have a difficult time getting off to a super fast start. So, but the one good thing is that they settled on their lineup relatively early, which I was surprised with, but, Darren Carlson is starting at the point guard position. Ben McLemore, second-year guy, is starting at the 2. And Ben McLemore, just so you know, sort of a segue here. Ben McLemore let go of his agent, Rodney.
Yeah, I saw that on the way in here today.
Yeah, that's just something that I think it hurt him during the draft that he was associated with Rodney, and I don't think he's a bad guy, Rodney Blackstock. I think he's a good guy, but I think that when you started hearing P.J. Hairston connected with Rodney Blackstock and that he was going to sign with him, I think Ben McLemore started to see the light that, like, maybe this isn't the right guy to take me to the next level. And so Ben McLemore, starting at the shooting guard position, definitely has made a power move in his inner circle.
And has there been anything about his new agent? Because I haven't been keeping up on that. Do we
No.
know who his new agent would be?
No, he does not have a new agent as of right now.
Okay.
But the Kings picked up his contract for the 2015-16 season already, his third-year contract, which they have to do during the month of October, leading up to the season.
No-brainer,
They
yeah.
have until the 31st. It's a no-brainer because he has loads of potential, and actually, he's looked really solid.
Right.
He's looked better during preseason.
Better, I wouldn't say solid. Better.
He's got suspect hands still, but I think his shooting stroke looks nice.
It's a step forward.
Yeah.
That's all you're asking for out of him, I think, at this stage after last season, is just take the steps forward on a continuous basis.
Yeah.
Before things get out of hand.
You know, the one thing that really kills me about Ben McLemore, and we were starting on the starting lineup. We'll get back to that here in a minute.
Yeah, sorry.
The thing that really kills me is that he literally averages like 0.5 steals a game.
Right.
I mean, he's so athletic. He's so quick. He's got, a quick burst. When he decides to put his foot down, he blows right by you. How does he not play the passing lanes? How does he not get to balls that, to me, it's surprising.
I think we know the answer. I think the game's moving too fast for him, and
Yes.
it will slowly slow down for him. You're hoping to see that this year, and he's got the starting job, so back to the starting lineup.
I think he's a Ferrari motor in like a Honda Accord right now. So it's like literally everywhere you go, you spin your tires and
You don't get anywhere.
you don't get anywhere. Sometimes you like overshoot the parking spot. He's working though. He's working on it.
Well, I'm glad they settled, and Malone. I always seem to agree with what he does. He settled on a starting lineup really quickly, and I think that gives them time to settle in on the backups, get their rotation in order, figure out who's out. I think we were thinking it was Derek Williams that's out.
Derek Williams is out. That's what
Yeah.
it looks like to me. It looks like Omri Caspi has stolen away a rotational spot there.
McCallum is out.
McCallum is out, which is a surprise to many people, but realistically, you have to remember that he's a second-round pick. He has a long way to go, and it is what it is. Or you can only play so many people.
And then Evans is probably out.
I think Evans is going to get more playing time than Ryan Hollins, but when you keep getting burned to the hole, you're going to bring in Ryan Hollins and try to get, put a goalie in there. But I think right now the rotation, let's just finish up the starting lineup. Of
Right.
course, Rudy Gay at the small forward position. Jason Thompson, once again, has won the starting power forward
Way
position.
to go, Jason Thompson.
Jason Thompson, everybody. Jason Thompson. Good for Jason Thompson. I mean, he's 59 games away from the all-time leading games played by a Sacramento King. And he, in all likelihood, will get there unless Pete D'Alessandro trades him.
On the 58th game.
Well, you have to
it won't
remember
be the
that
58th game, but
Peja Stojakovic got traded after the 59th game.
oh wow.
So he beat Mitch Richmond by one game, and then they traded him the next day. Wow. So they celebrated, and then they said goodbye, which was very odd, and a lot of fans were not happy about it, especially for Ron Artest, who at that point was coming off of Crazyville
Right.
in Indiana. So at the power forward position, of course, we have Jason Thompson and DeMarcus Cousins rounds out the starting lineup. But the bench, Aaron, I love this about the bench. I think that what Pete D'Alessandro did was he said, I have two choices. I can either add a veteran shooting guard and take away minutes from Stauskas and McLemore, or I can give each McLemore and Stauskas a proven veteran scoring point guard that can help them develop as players. And I kind of like what he did. I got to be honest. I hate it. It's growing on me, Aaron. It's growing on me.
It's funny. I'm watching everybody in Sacramento kind of go through the same thing, and it's fine because Ramon Sessions in particular I think he's really going to do well in a place like Sacramento. He's never really gotten his due. He's always been a good player wherever he's been. Solid player.
Yeah.
I mean, his issues are defense, and every now and then he'll disappear. But between him and Collison, yeah, you're right. That's like a best case scenario for those two players. So if you want to take the Isaiah Thomas discussion and pitch it to the side, I think that things look good for those two guys. I have questions about whether or not they can defend.
That's going to be an issue.
It's going to be an issue. I have questions about the minute distribution. I think we talked about this in the last podcast. Guys got to play more than 20 minutes a game if they're more than 20-minute per game players, and that's going to be Collison or Sessions.
I think Collison plays 30. I think Sessions plays 25. I think that 7-minute burst gets stolen at the shooting guard position.
Right.
But I think they steal that back from the small forward position, and I don't think there's that many minutes at the backup small
with
forward.
Omri playing a lot of stretch 4 with the second unit.
I think he's going to play a lot of stretch 4. I think Jason Thompson probably, even as a starter, will only play 20 to 24 minutes a night. I think that Carl Landry has really looked good over the last couple of games, which is scary because if Carl is good and Ramon is good and Stauskas is going to average close to 8 to 10 points a game as like a wide open shooter, all of a sudden you start to see a bench forming that maybe can score 25, 30 points a night. And that's not bad.
It's not bad. It's still in the Western Conference, and I think that that's going to be the thing that throws a blanket on everybody's party is that even if these guys are great, this all comes back to kind of what is Boogie going to do? What's Rudy going to do? Because these are the two guys that are going to control everything.
Yes.
If they're taking great shots, if DeMarcus, the crazy thing about DeMarcus is he might be one of the top 5 most dominant players in the league right now. He might be a top 3 most dominant players in the league because I still have yet to see anybody that can cover that man. I have yet to see a double team that can really cover that man. He beats himself, but it's not the other team that's
Dwight
beating
Howard
him.
looks around like, how come I've got 3 fouls and we're 48 seconds into the game? I mean, that's what happens every time they play Dwight. He's on the bench because Dwight Howard's in foul trouble because he cannot defend DeMarcus Cousins.
So you have this potent player. I would hesitate to say that the Kings can't win with that one potent player, but that number 2 guy, Rudy's the big question mark right now. Is he going to be Rudy from his last few days in Memphis? Is he going to be Toronto Rudy? Because in Toronto Rudy, they said, Rudy, you're the man. We'd like you to shoot the ball a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
And what you got was 42% field goal shooting on like 19 attempts per game.
That was ugly.
It was terrible.
It was a perimeter-based game, though, and I think that having DeMarcus Cousins take away a double team almost every single time down the floor is going to open things up where Rudy Gay can do a lot of different things. Also, with Team USA, Rudy Gay played the post almost exclusively, and Rudy Gay has incredible post moves.
Yeah, that's where he should stay.
He's incredible. Like,
the mid-post baseline is great area for him.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought the Kings did right with him. Was they said, no, you're not dribbling the ball up, Rudy. You're not standing outside at the three-point line trying to work pick and pop or pick and roll or anything like this. You go down into that mid-post area, work people off the dribble, with a triple threat like Dirk Nowitzki almost, and that's when he shot a good 50%. So
I think so. I look at Rudy Gay, though, when I watch him play. He's such a joy to watch. Like, he's so smooth.
He is smooth.
And I look at it, and I think to myself, talent-wise, not production-wise, or not shooting percentage or advanced metrics or anything else, like, watching a player play, there's, like, Chris Webber and DeMarcus Cousins and Mitch Richmond, and somewhere in between those 3 players is Rudy Gay. He's hiding in the top 3 players that I've ever seen in a Sacramento Kings uniform as far as talent alone. And the way, he's George Gervin at moments. He's so smooth.
And the crazy part is he never really got his hops back from Memphis.
Yeah.
If he had those hops still, this is why everybody was hot and bothered about him as a player, and he got the big extension and get the big contract. Everybody said, wow, look at what this guy can do. And then the wheels just spun sideways, and it ended badly in Memphis, and it turned into a very interesting situation in Toronto where Dwayne Casey was not really, I don't know if he was really behind the Rudy shoot 19 times a game thing, but they all settled on it as a plan. to the detriment of the team and even some of the other players there in terms of their development. The entire Toronto media was calling for more Jonas Valanciunas,
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan, like saying, "Hey, we got to
Or Ross.
right, we
Yeah.
got to get these guys the ball." But Casey and Rudy were tied at the hip, and then eventually Petey went in and scooped him up and kind of saved his career in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happened with Rudy Gay. I think everyone knows that Rudy Gay was saved by that transaction, and I love watching him play. I hope that he's a Sacramento King for a long time. I don't typically say that, but the fact is, like, when you're sitting in a stadium or an arena watching 41 home games a year plus preseason, and you're seeing 28-win basketball, and just so you know, 28 wins 2 years in a row, and that's the highlight of like a 6-year span. Before that, it was worse.
Oof.
And so when you're watching that and you get to see an elite player, it draws me back to, there's this poignant moment in the movie Sonic Skate where
Yes.
one of the, like a beat writer, but he's also, well, no, it wasn't. He was a columnist, but also like a poet. who
Oh, that
starts-
guy's really good. What's
he's-
his name?
I don't know.
He's great. He's great.
He starts talking about Ray Allen and being able to go out and watch the greatest shooter, one of the greatest shooters in the game. But when you have the opportunity to see greatness, when no matter what it is, but you can go out there and see it every night. It's like watching a ballet that's done by like the best dancers. I mean, you're getting to see something that no one else gets to see on a nightly basis, and it makes it special. And that's where Rudy Gay kind of separates. It's like you get to see a guy who at 6'9" is one of the more fluid players I've ever seen, and it makes it enjoyable. It does. It makes the game enjoyable, even though you're watching, even though like 28% of the time the Kings win, so that it puts it like, I mean, we're literally watching 70% losses for the Sacramento Kings.
And frustrating losses.
And frustrating, yeah, and not knowing how to finish and not knowing how to do these things. Still, getting to see Rudy Gay perform, getting to see DeMarcus Cousins, which is a next-generation hybrid big man that we've never seen before. You can't compare him to anyone that you've ever seen in the NBA before. He's got Hakeem Shake, but with, you know, like some flexibility that you just don't catch out of a guy who's 6'11".
Yeah, he's Shaq with moves. You know, he's got that. Shaq's
Interesting.
stronger. Well, look at his free throw stats. I did a little thing on Cousins for NBC the other day. I think he's gonna shoot 10 free throws a game. Now, Shaquille O'Neal shot 10 free throws a game for 10 of his first 13 seasons.
Wow.
And there's only been 11 seasons of 10-plus free throws per game in the history of the NBA, dating back to
10% of them are
10% of them are Shaq. Cousins, I think, was at like 9.3 last year.
Wow.
But that's how uncoverable he is. But Cousins has something different where he can obviously hit the J. Might start shooting corner threes, who knows.
I haven't seen a lot of that, but to be honest, Cousins doesn't hang out in the shoot-around
The
session
thing that
after
impresses me
practice.
the most is he puts his head down and he gets his body contorted into these weird positions that are just like, I don't even know how you do that, let alone without traveling. And then he makes the bucket. And he's got that same skill that Rudy has of making the shot. You can't teach that stuff. Rudy's, to your point about being fluid, he makes it look like a dance. You know,
Yes.
you said George Gervin, the one thing he can do is finger
Iceman.
roll.
He's got a finger roll.
You got to have a finger
so
roll.
Smooth.
They don't teach that anymore.
They don't teach it, and Rudy Gay is so smooth. I don't want to bring it up again, but I'm going to. I would love to see Rudy Gay sign like a 4 or 5 year extension. I would love it because getting to watch him on a nightly basis, whether the Kings win or not, it makes it watchable. It does, because there are a couple of moments every game where you look at the person next to you and say, I cannot believe I just saw that. What he just did, and Cousins has those moments too, and the opposing team often has those moments. I mean, whether it's like Jason Smith going for like 30, and you're like, I can't believe.
What was
I
it,
just
like
saw
Bryce Cotton? Because the Kings
Yeah.
ran. Here's the thing that's okay. So all your optimism, the Kings had their starters out there
Yeah.
against the Spurs, and I think it was Bryce Cotton.
It's tough.
Yeah, I mean,
And Jamichael Green, right?
Jamichael Green.
Is that the other guy who killed him in the first half? Just
he ripped you guys up. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so it's like you think about all the reasons for optimism, and then you look at, wow, these guys are they're trying to win. They tried to win Summer League. They tried to win preseason games.
I don't think they've tried to win preseason. I've seen games where Eric Moreland and Ray McCallum and David Ware, it's a tight ball game, and you're seeing
and those guys are in.
And you're like, wait a sec.
I think they're trying more than most teams. I'll put it that way.
You know what I kind of feel like? I think Summer League was like, we're going for it. We're going to go win ourselves a Summer League championship. We're going to, there's going to be a display case built somewhere for that Summer League championship. I don't know where. And maybe they'll go for, 4-time, Summer League champs, and everyone around the league will look at them like,
that was a Warriors thing, though, right?
Maybe it was. The Warriors have brought some stud teams.
Right.
Not this year, but
I think
in
Klay
previous
Thompson
years.
played last year, right?
Well, I think, Draymond and Harrison Barnes. They were stacked at some point. And you're like, whoa, this is. And they always brought.
I think they have an 18-game winning streak in Summer League snapped this year.
Yeah. No, they're good, but that's nothing to hang your hat on. To be honest with you, it means absolutely nothing.
To bring it all back into what I think is important, I'll probably be talking about this on another podcast. For the Kings, it's just.
He's podcast dropping.
I am podcast dropping. Stay tuned. The whole the deal with the Kings right now is now they have to prove it. There's been enough, there's been training wheels, there's been transition times, there's been, rebuilding, yada, yada,
Potential
yada.
Potential to production.
Yes. This is the time where it all has to add up, and I think that's where you're getting this sense of anxiety from Kings fans because they've been so loyal. They'd run through a brick wall for Vivek. It probably still would.
Yeah. Vivek is still like a national treasure in Sacramento.
Right. Now, but at the same time, they want to know, in particular when you send a guy like the pizza guy who tied the game and sent it to overtime and scored something like 26 points the other night, looking all crazy.
Yeah, in Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, when you make these controversial moves, I think fans want to know that they're paying off. And this is the year where they're going to look for results kind of earlier rather than later. And in particular, I think Vivek's going to be looking for results sooner rather than later.
I think so, too. You look at Vivek when he came into Media Day and they asked him specifically when we were all standing there in a scrum and hey, what's the win total? He wouldn't give a win total, but you could tell that it's I think the win total in his head is 45, 47. And you're like, hey, dude, 47 ain't going to happen. We did a poll on Cowbell, and something I think the percentage was low, but I think it was something like 20 people said that 22 people thought that the Sacramento Kings would win 46 games or more.
22 out of 1,000, right?
It wasn't out of 1,000. It was out of too many.
Oh, my God.
It was wait a sec. 22 people believe that the Sacramento Kings can win 46 games.
That's like Vivek hitting the button over and over and over again.
Somebody's drinking the purple Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Purple drank maybe. Is Jamarcus Russell around handing out cups
just
and
hitting,
then people
hitting
are
the button over and over again?
hitting the button. I guess I don't.
But so now is that manifest itself into locker room and front office dissension? Is everybody on the same page? Is there going to be pressure that manifests itself in people getting it's not staying in their lane? That's what I want to know. Are the Kings going to keep it together through this? This is a rebuilding season. Make no mistake.
Yes.
Whether Vivek understands that or not.
This is a ramp-up season.
It's a ramp-up season for the opening of the arena. And
it's a year before, so next season they need to be pushing for a playoff spot. They need to have a playoff spot next season.
Right.
And then the next year they need to be not title contenders but contenders. And so you have a lot of work to do. And, Collison, 3-year deal. Sessions, 2-year deal. These guys are here. The one guy who's not is Rudy Gay, who hasn't committed yet. And I think he's going to wait it out because I think he wants fat payday TV money.
And if everything goes well, then a free agent might decide Sacramento's the place for them.
I think so. I also believe that Pete D'Alessandro will once again try for splashy. I think he's got one more splashy move in him, and I don't know that that's a good idea, but I do know that the power forward position and the shooting guard position are still positions that are probably, the shooting guard position, I say, is a year, maybe a year and a half away from being like NBA competent.
Right.
The power forward position is what it is. I mean, you're going to try a three-headed hydra of Jason Thompson, Reggie Evans, and Carl Landry. If Carl Landry can be Carl Landry of not just, you know what? If Carl Landry can be David West off the bench, then I think the Kings have something, and they, you get by with
Get by with that.
with Jason Thompson and with Reggie Evans, just like beating people down, taking on the toughest cover, letting DeMarcus Cousins roam and be the star. I think that works, but still, that's a position of need. The shooting guard position could develop, but it's a position of need. Rui Thomas, our new addition on Cowbell Kingdom, he did this sobering piece on Wednesday, and it was, where does Darren Collison rank amongst the Pacific Division point guards? And for those out there who like Rui and I got in a discussion back and forth, and it's I threw something out to him. I used to work with this guy who talked in cliches. He had literally, he did two things that were weird. Number one, he would suck on Altoids and just put it in the middle of his tongue, and then he would talk like this until the Altoid dissolved. And then the other thing he would do is he would talk in cliches, and he had something for everything. And it was always entertaining, but you hear them and they kind of stick in your brain. He would say that that figures don't lie, liars figure.
Mm.
So liars figure that
That's
something will
profound
happen.
stuff, man.
It is. So I threw that at Rui, because Rui and I were in a discussion about who reads Cowbell Kingdom, the type of people that come to us and look for a certain type of knowledge, and what they're looking for typically is pretty succinct. It's got to be intelligent. It's got to have a point. It doesn't need to be overwhelmingly statistical, but it needs to have statistical backing. And the key to the figures don't lie, liars figure is that figures have to be used in a way to cement an argument, and it can't be a straw man argument. It's got to be a strong argument. And when you post up a piece and you look at where really Darren Collison ranks against Chris Paul, against Goran Dragic, Jeremy Lin as a starting point guard, and Steph Curry, it's not good. No. I don't know that I saw where the fans had basically put. I didn't go through and look at the results, but if you're gonna rank Collison there, I got him at 4 out of 5.
Oh, in just the Pacific.
And just the Pacific.
Who you got him beating?
Jeremy Lin.
Lin.
I'm not into Lin's sanity. I'm over Lin's sanity. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it's one of those deals that you kind of, when you look at it, how does he fit in with in that grouping? And look, the Western Conference is tough.
I give him a tie for 4th.
The Pacific Division is tough. Yeah, a tie
but you
for
know
4th.
what? Point guard is a deep position these days.
But it's sobering, right?
Yeah, it's very sobering if you're a Kings fan, I think. But I kind of think everybody's been down that road, I think there's been enough national hate. I mean, Grantland came out with their team preview, which was hilarious.
Boogie.
Oh, God, those guys are funny.
They're funny. I agree, but they have them pegged 34 wins, same as me.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know, I remember what I said. I think it was 32, and I might have revised at some point, but I'm in that ballpark. It's sobering, but yeah, you gotta, I think it's you roll the ball out there. It's time to go, actually get results. And after 10 games, we'll be having another podcast, and we'll have a real good idea of where the team is.
Yes.
And where it's gonna be heading.
I like to give a team 20, but the front end of this schedule is brutal, and I think the Kings are gonna have a tough time. I mean, if they're at 8-12 coming out of 20 games, I would, like, as a guy who's covering the team, I would think, okay, maybe we got something.
I'm going to be looking for all the buzzwords. I want to see if they're, moving the ball, passing first.
Yes,
If they're
pass
full
first.
court pressing, all that stuff. I'm
You're gonna look for
all
those,
that.
like, you
yes.
gotta,
I
like
got like
a-
a buzzword checklist.
You have like a big
I mean,
board in your house, like
yeah,
the hustle board.
A hustle? No, it's a pass first board.
The
I
pass first
I want to
board.
make sure that everybody's passing first and then shooting second.
Aaron Bruski will never, ever, ever forgive the Sacramento Kings for passing on Isaiah Thomas.
No, it's not. No, the Kings are cool with me. I would have gone a different way, but hey, maybe maybe it's for the better. You never know.
I think that we have to let it play out. At this point, I think everyone should just like let it go and let it play out and kind of see how it goes. All right, so Aaron, we don't want to talk about Sacramento Kings all day. Let's bring up a couple of things. I was thinking about it on the way over. We got 3 major either injuries or recovery from injuries that I want to talk about general basketball with you. And I want to see what you think. Okay, first of all, we've got the catastrophic injury of Kevin Durant. He's going to be out like 8 weeks at a minimum, but it sure does seem like he's really interested in playing Xbox and Xbox One and hanging out for like more like 3 to 4 months and seeing if that team can survive without him.
Man, I get that from a few people that I trust. They don't have any info because I don't think only Kevin knows what he wants to do at this point. Opposing that, the Thunder have been notoriously, and I mean notoriously for over years, overstating their injury timelines. I mean, James Harden had a concussion and he was going to be out for 5 million years, and then he turned around and played the next day as soon as Ron
You mean he didn't
Artest.
pull a John Jaso?
Oh, what was that?
The John Jaso, Oakland A's. Sorry,
Oh.
Oakland A's fans, you know the John Jaso concussion reference.
Sorry, I'm a one-sport man these days. With the so they've done that. Serge Ibaka was supposedly out for
Serge Ibaka did
So
do
they have
like
a
Willis
history
Reed.
with this,
Yeah.
but this is so much more different because his free agency is the biggest story, and how they handle it. They're going to let him control almost everything. So if he wants to play it safe, he's going to play it safe.
Yeah.
They've always run him into the ground trying to get home court advantage. Other teams like the Spurs don't care about that stuff so much. But, he played 38.5 minutes per game last year, and they didn't really need him to.
Yeah.
So they've got a history of doing that, and I think he might say, yeah, I'm going to play it safe here because I do have free agency coming up, and also I want to be fresh for the end of the year. At the end of the year, he wasn't fresh at the end. And you could have said, hey, Scotty Brooks, why don't you develop guys like Jeremy Lamb and some of the other young guys on your bench. Perry Jones,
Yeah,
even get
he's let that guy off
Steve
the
Adams, get him in the game.
Steven Adams needs to play 30 minutes tonight for that team.
Well, Perkins should have been on the bench 4 years ago, and that speaks
Yeah.
to a different issue with the Thunder that nobody in the media likes to touch with a 10-foot pole is, these guys, whatever window they had, their legs were chopped out from underneath them by what a lot of coaches do, which is rely on their veterans or go to the one that you danced with or, not like to change your ways.
Yeah, I like Scotty Brooks. I think he's been given a tough rap there because he hasn't won anything. The one thing that really concerns me with that team is that when Scotty Brooks always talks about this, that this team, they just compete. They love to play basketball. They play basketball against each other, like after practice. They just they're self-motivated. They love the fact that they get the opportunity to be in the NBA. What happens when you take Kevin Durant away from that?
Oof.
That's the real question. What happens when you take Kevin Durant away?
He's always thrown the ball out and said, you guys figure it out. And, from
does.
one perspective, that's good because guys start to figure things out for their own. But with a young team that, for instance, Russell Westbrook was making a lot of mistakes early on at such a high stage and a big stage. And it's really, I think, done him a disservice, especially when they were happening at the same time. A lot of times Scotty would let Russ take the bullet. And that wasn't, fair to Russ per se. But now, with no offensive system, they have not had a real offensive system for 3 years. And now you take Kevin Durant out of that.
There have been a lot of good teams without offensive systems that are successful.
Yeah, but they usually have veteran players that know what to do with the ball.
That's
The
true.
big knock on Kevin Durant is that he doesn't know what to do with the ball. He doesn't demand the ball when he's supposed to demand the ball. He's not able to get the ball on the post where he should get the ball on the post. Everybody says he needs to get stronger, but a lot of times there's a guy with the ball, there's Kevin Durant, and there's three guys standing around kind of waiting for them to get the ball to Durant.
Yeah.
And they can't get the ball to Durant, and then they're at the 14-second mark of the shot clock, and something bad happens.
Yeah.
Durant covers up a lot of those issues, and
he does with his genius. He does his incredible play. He pulls
can get a shot off.
Yeah, he does whatever he wants. Yeah. I was watching footage of that. Have you seen the footage of the 7-footer? He's a high school kid, and from.
I think that passed my desk the other day.
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
remember who it is.
He's a high school kid from Africa who I think is. They don't know if he's going to be going to college in 2015 or 2016. He's 7 foot tall. He dribbles the ball like a guard. He blocks shots. He's at least 7 foot tall, probably a little bit bigger. I think that's Kevin Durant wins on sheer incredible talent alone.
He's freaky.
He's absolutely freaky. His broad shoulders is 6'11" with a 7 foot something wingspan, but with guard skills. It's the Tracy McGrady effect, and Anthony Hardaway. It's like I talked to Durant about this one time, and I asked him who was your influence, and he said that it was McGrady. It was McGrady who has a huge influence on a lot of players.
A lot of players, and he doesn't get anywhere near the respect that he
Maybe
deserves.
because he's a pitcher.
Yeah.
At this point. Maybe because he's throwing a baseball.
Hey, you know what? Whatever floats your boat, man.
I guess.
But yeah, they're going to be 20 games. I would say is a good 20 to 25 games without Durant, and they're going to have to really dig down deep. You notice that there's no talk of Kendrick Perkins starting this year. So
man, Steven Adams is just too good.
Oh, he was too good last year. And
the Kings would have drafted him last year, and oh my gosh, because he was so impressive, the big Kiwi.
Yeah, he's just a stud. He's out there getting under people's skin, and
his personality is just so
He's like,
yeah,
what do you mean?
What do you mean? It's totally matter of fact.
I knocked him on his ass. Who
I
cares?
can handle him. Yeah, it's like bring on DeMarcus. I'm good with that. Yeah.
But they're gonna run out Anthony Morrow as a starter next to Andre Roberson, and Jeremy Lamb has had a really bad preseason. But this is the guy that's been given kind of a no vote of confidence from management because he was basically didn't play in the playoffs, and then he got 10, 15 minutes a game all during the regular season because those guys were chasing home court advantage.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be asked to be put into a big role, and then you got Reggie Jackson's dealing with a wrist injury. He's going to be a big-time player for them, whether or not he comes off the bench where he probably should. He doesn't want to come off the bench.
Yeah.
He's in extension talks. They got a lot of different things going on, and if they can just simply win, keep it within 4 wins of what they would have won with Durant, that'll be a huge win for them. But where they get their offense from, can Russell Westbrook be the man? I think he's the third best player in the NBA right now.
Well, and does that hurt you? Oh, that's a wild statement.
That's a wild, and
Aaron
I
Bruski
love it.
Goes wild.
Print that. Number 3,
Wow.
Russell Westbrook.
That's going to be huge. Wow, that's
Russell Westbrook, number 3.
We'll just make that our fantasy portion
No,
of this podcast. Aaron Bruski said.
Number 3.
Aaron Bruski said.
He's an
Westbrook
animal.
is number
Beware, Godzilla.
Wow. Okay, let's shift gears from that team. We're going to skip over the Bulls because they're the other team who has a player returning from injury. We talked about the Chicago Bulls last week, how Derrick Rose is literally the weak link on a former MVP as a weak link, which we just called Kevin Durant a weak link as well, who doesn't pass the ball and doesn't know what to do with the ball. Let's just move forward. Let's move forward to a former guy who may or may not have won an MVP, and Kobe Bryant.
Oh, boy.
What does the return of Kobe Bryant... Kings fans are going to love this. We're going to talk Lakers for a second. We'll try to keep it 3 minutes or less.
3 minutes, okay.
Kobe Bryant enters the scene. Didn't Swaggy P get hurt? They got Steve
he's
Nash.
out for about 6-7 weeks.
They added Lynn. They've added a couple other pieces, but they lost Powell.
Yes.
Okay, you think this is the worst team in the West?
I think they're the worst team in the West. I'm just going to ignore all of the drama with the ESPN Kobe thing. I think if I got a 3-minute
That's drama.
3-minute mark,
Yeah,
that's
and
just
that's
drama.
my,
And I don't
that's
think
my
it
boy
even,
Henry Turner.
It doesn't even matter.
My Henry Abbott. Henry Abbott. My
Oh,
bad.
wow.
Henry Abbott is my guy. He's my
Not
true
Hank
guy.
the High Flyer?
Hank the High Flyer. I love Hank the High Flyer. I see him all the time. But Henry Abbott is one of my guys because he's a true hoop guy, and I guess he like dusted it up with Kobe Bryant.
I was just shocked. I mean, that was just like boom, right at him.
Well, when you take that much money, there's going to be people who,
Yeah. So Kobe, though, I mean, he's looked terrible. I mean, terrible with a capital T. Terrible. With a capital T. He has no lift on anything. He can't jump right now. I mean, he can fade away. But last night, at the end of the game, he hit like 2 fadeaways over PJ Tucker, who's one of the best defenders in the league.
Nasty defender.
I mean, just I wanted to put a tombstone together and stick him underneath it, but I can't do it now, seeing that he's got that fadeaway, and that makes him deadly. He's going to make the shots that are presented to him, and he's not going to beat anybody. He's going to command a double team if they put a Goran Dragic type on him, because they put Goran on him.
They put Bledsoe on him typically.
Well, for a stretch, they put Goran on him, and
That's
Kobe
not good.
just shot over the top of him without jumping. And so Kobe's got his little spots on the court. So in that respect, I think he'll have an effective year, but he's not going to be beating teams by himself.
Yeah.
And the Lakers are going to be terrible. Something is rotten over there. I don't know what it is. It's probably not Kobe's fault entirely, but I think that if they can stay healthy, and that's a big if with that crew they got rolling around over there, maybe they can compete for like 11th place in the West or something.
Wow. So they'll be right there with the Sacramento Kings?
The Kings are going to just dust them.
Dust them. Wow. All right. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me because honestly, I don't think the Lakers do have enough talent to compete. I think it all hinges upon them losing Jody Meeks. Wait, no, it does not. Jody Meeks is out too. He would have been just injured if he was there. Different place, different time. Who knows if it would have happened. I think that sort of general NBA, those two teams, one team loses a star, and we're saying, can they be within 4 games? So, like we're talking about, like, can they be a 53-win team or something without Kevin Durant? And that's shocking. And then another team who gets a star back, but that star is aging, and we're probably seeing the candle start to fade with Mr. Kobe Bryant. Which, if you're a Kings fan, I think all Kings fans are celebrating that. But as a basketball in general fan, we saw Michael go through this.
He looks like Michael right now.
Well, the problem, Michael's 51. And I think Michael would take him
right now.
Yeah, I think Michael would take him. But the thing with Michael is that when Michael got older, he played till he came back and played in Washington, 38, 39 years old, and all he could do was hit fadeaway jumpers. He could still score 19 or 20 points a game, but just on fadeaway jumpers. The difference that I see with those two is, number one, Michael has taken 2 hiatuses at that point. He had gone to go play baseball, and he had also retired from the Bulls. And then the other issue is that Kobe Bryant came right out of high school, went right into a championship caliber team not too long after, and went to the playoffs every year, played Team USA, played everything else. And so Kobe Bryant has it's like 200 times more mileage than what we saw at Michael Jordan at the same age. It's not even in the same ballpark. I think people need to look as like Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant, because they did come out of high school. They have put so much more mileage, and you only get a certain amount of years, and those two are just such the extreme. I mean,
well, they've had also the treatment advantages as well.
Yeah.
Orchithine therapy in Germany and things like that.
Oh,
that Jordan didn't have access to, or probably didn't even want to deal with, since off seasons were dedicated to golf and gambling.
I've seen him golf, and I've seen him gamble, and he's not good at either. And what's worse is that he wears the worst plaid golf pants that are like golf cargos that I literally could hide in one of his pockets.
That
They're so
generation
big.
didn't have Lance Fresh advising them on what to wear every night.
Yeah, something is going horribly wrong with Michael Jordan's golf outfits. I've seen him. He's always up at the celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, which I highly recommend everyone go to. It's the most fun you're going to have, where you literally are right there with everyone, not just as media, but I mean watching Charles Barkley and just being so up close and personal with those guys on like a daily basis. It's a spectacular tournament. All right, well, we have digressed here at the Cowbell Kingdom podcast. Shocker. I mean, that happens when you're at the Bon Lair. So I think that's it. I want to say a huge thank you to Bobby Jackson for coming in. Very excited to see what Bobby Jackson brings as an analyst to Comcast Sportsnet California this season in pregame, halftime, postgame, whatever it is that Bobby's going to do for them. I'm intrigued to see how he develops in that role, because he's kind of a quiet guy, and I want to see him kind of blossom and show his basketball intellect. He's been a coach for a few years. He was a player for a long time. He's played a bunch of different roles as an NBA player, so I think it's a good fit for him. I also want to thank Aaron Bruski for joining me at the Bon Lair, and the Bon Lair for putting up with us while we sit here and record this podcast. But Aaron, this is we'll have a game to talk about next week. There will be an actual regular season Sacramento Kings game on Wednesday. Thursday, we'll record the podcast. Friday, we'll go out. We will have the Warriors to talk about. Win-loss, what do you think? Opening night.
Oof. I think they lose.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they've been pretty solid at home over the course of time.
They like to play well at home on opening night.
And they love to play the Warriors.
Somebody got to do something to fire the whole crowd and the team up. Last year there was a lot going on. Get everybody going, because they're going to need it. That Warriors team is deadly.
That Warriors team is deadly. All right, so you're going to see new digital boards up at Arco Arena, Sleep Train Arena, when you get out there. If you haven't been to a game, absolutely beautiful HD digital boards, which is going to be new this season. The floor is lighter in color, so the entire arena looks brighter. It's like if you put white hardwood down in your house, it lights everything up. That's what's happened at Arco/Sleep Train. So get excited. Wednesday, opening night against Golden State Warriors at home. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Cowbell Kingdom podcast. For Aaron Bruski, I am James Ham. Thank you for listening to the Cowbell Kingdom podcast.